How much is rent in Canada for students? Okay, so rent is quickly going up the scale. Like, hi there, welcome back to the channel. On this channel, I talk about life in Canada, studying in Canada, and personal development. Now, today I will be doing an international student Q&A where I'm just going to be answering some of the commonly asked questions that you guys have asked me. I just went through my email and just kind of gathered a couple of questions that I get frequently. Now, if you have any questions while I'm doing this video, definitely leave them down in the comment section below. I will be happy to answer them. So the first question is, what is the hardest part of living in Canada? Now, I think that the hardest part of living in Canada is honestly just thinking about the amount of money that I'm spending in Jamaican dollars. Now, when I think about the currency rate, when I'm thinking about Jamaica versus Canadian dollars, it's actually a lot of money that I'm spending when I think about the money in Jamaican dollars. So I think that is one of the most hardest things about living in Canada, is anytime that I start to think about how much is this in Jamaican dollars, and I'm like, no way. I am telling you that when I have to put up $600 and something on a gym membership, if I think about that in Jamaican dollars, that is like $70,000 that I'm paying for the gym for a year. $70,000, like, that's a lot of money. Okay, so the second question is, was getting your study permit difficult? Good question. So was it difficult to get my study permit? I wouldn't say that it was difficult, but I'm definitely going to say that it was very time consuming, because I spent many months researching about study permit, just learning about visa processings and learning everything about how visas work and all of that. And even before that, like years before, I was just researching generally about Canada, generally about immigrating to Canada, just generally doing research. And I'm telling you that it is very time consuming, but I wouldn't say that it's difficult. Like, if you're willing to put in a couple of months of research and a lot of hours into researching about coming to Canada, you will be fine. But it's just very time consuming. That's the main thing about it. So the third question is, how did you get your accommodation in Canada? Now, when I came to Canada, that was almost 4 years ago, coming close to 4 years ago. And during that time, it wasn't as difficult as now to get an apartment. So what that means is that if you're going to use my strategy now, it may not work for you and you may end up not having housing. So it is actually better that you don't use this strategy right now. And I'm going to link, while I'm talking now, I link right here. I link the video where I talk about how to get an apartment fast. Those strategies works now, but my way was that I actually came to Canada and I stayed at I booked a hotel for 3 days, and I took 4 days to find an apartment. And within that 3 days, I had to book an additional day, and I paid a total of 4 days of hotel stay in Canada until I got somewhere to stay. So that wouldn't be my recommendation for you right now because of the current housing crisis, but that is how I previously got my accommodation. The next question is, one of the biggest mistakes made in Canada? One of the biggest mistakes that I've made. I think one of the biggest mistakes that I've made is thinking certain words or certain terms that I tend to use in Jamaica, I got to see that those are not international terms, and because of that, I was saying things and people did not understand what I was saying. Like, it was so crazy that I remember the first time this happened to me. The first time that it happened to me is when I was going to purchase a SIM card. Now, when I went to purchase that SIM card, I went to the teller and I was like, I went to a representative and I asked them about buying a chip. Now, they were like, a chip? Sorry, what? And they're asking me like, what is it used for? And I'm like, what do you mean what it's used for? So that was the first mistake that I made. So it's basically just using words that are actually just words used in Jamaica that are not used in Canada. So I have to be switching my words regularly. Where I remember once where I told someone, oh, so the story about the chip. So I finally realized that they didn't understand what I was talking about. So I said a SIM card, and then they're like, oh, a SIM card. And they understood that. So that was one of my biggest mistakes, is using terms that are Jamaican terms but they are not Canadian terms. Another one would be, I have a lot of them. One of them is football. Football in Jamaica is soccer in Canada. So when I'm talking about football and I'm saying football, they are thinking about their football, but it's actually soccer in Canada. Football is the one with your throw with their hand, but in Jamaica, football is the one that you kick. There's so many of them. Blows. In Jamaica, we call these blows. In Canada, they don't call these blows, they call these t-shirts. So I asked, so what do you call a blouse? So they say blouse is like a fancy type of top. And I'm like, okay, noted for next time. But like something like this, they call it a shirt or a top. But in Jamaica, we call a female top blouse. So those are just some of the things that were very different in Canada. Next question. What is one of the weirdest things that has happened to you in Canada? One of the weirdest things that have happened to me in Canada. This is going to kind of link back to the one that I said previously, where it was actually me having an accent. I'm like, me accent. Because in Canada, like, if you're in your home country, everyone has the same accent. So it's not an accent because everybody has it. So, but when I'm in Canada, they're like, oh, your accent. Where are you from? I'm like, what accent? So that was one of the weirdest things that have happened to me, is just persons not understanding me. It was very weird when some people, they find it difficult to understand if I talk very quickly. So I have to slow down how I talk so that they can understand me. And that was like, how do you not understand me? I'm like, that is very different. Like, many times I have to slow down my speech so that people can understand me. But over time, they get accustomed to your accent and they eventually understand when I speak very quickly. But when a person just meets me, I'm conscious now that I need to slow down how I speak so that they can understand and get accustomed to my accent. But that was very weird when someone said they couldn't understand me, because I do not have any strong accent at all. What do you miss most about Jamaica? I would say the thing that I miss most about Jamaica is my family. Hands down, my family would be the thing that I miss the most. Additional things that I miss would be entertainment. In general, in Jamaica, like, everywhere you go, you'll randomly hear music playing. Even in the far background, you'll just hear music playing. And in Canada, it's just silent all the time. Everywhere you go, it's silent. Like, even if you go downtown, all you would hear is people talking. Like, you don't hear any music, and that's very weird. And entertainment, definitely, like music. The type of vibes in Jamaica is very much upbeat, very good vibes. But in Canada, it's more like jazz music and taking things slow and things like that. I'm not accustomed to that. In Jamaica, it's very, and just, yeah, so that's very different. Jamaica is very much the vibes, the hip, the music, up, 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 like things like that. But Canada is very subtle, smooth, take your time type of thing. So that's very different. So entertainment here is very different. And there was something at food. Yeah, food in Canada. Jamaica's food is way better than Canada. Yeah, the food, man, the food. um ah, Canada don't really, people here don't really season their food. Like they have this saying that goes around, like this is like an international thing. Like everyone knows that Canadians use salt and pepper to season their food. In Jamaica, you use real seasoning, like you have your onion, your scallion. You use all the seasonings in the world to season your food. In Canada, they don't really season food here. They don't season food. So it's bland, like and even just the things like the actual foods, a lot of it is just, or all of it is just processed foods, jammed with a lot of what are the things called that they put in it to make it sweet, make food sweet, make, like the bananas are very big, they're not natural foods. That's actually one of the biggest things I miss with Jamaica, is really foods are very natural and things actually spoil when it's supposed to spoil. In Canada you can have food and it lasts for very long and it doesn't spoil, and that's because it is I can't remember what do they place in fertilize, but basically it's not organic food, it's just jammed with all sort of things. And like the oranges are very sweet, they're not natural. Like oranges, some should be sweet, some should be sour, all sort of madness should be happening with the oranges when they are natural. But in Canada everything is sweet and nice and big and luscious, and you can know that that is not natural food, because natural food is not just that nice and huge and everything is perfect. Like that's not how natural foods are. So that's one of the biggest things that I miss. So family is number one, entertainment, food probably is number two, and then entertainment number three. But yeah, those three things. How much is rent in Canada for students? Okay, so rent is quickly going up the scale. Like I remember just the beginning of this year, I was seeing apartments that included a washroom and a kitchen and like bachelor style. I was seeing those for $1,000, and recently when I checked, I'm starting to see rooms for $1,000. A one bedroom and you share everything. $1,000. So rent is quickly going up. Like maybe by in the next 6 months it's going to go even further up. It's crazy though. Like I didn't expect that, but it's quickly going up. But the lowest that I've seen recently, I looked like last week on apartments available, and the lowest I've seen is somewhere for 600. I just filtered Kijiji. I just went on it, filtered it to the cheapest apartment that was available at that time, and it was $600. So that's currently the cheapest. And I remember sometime when I used to see like 450, and the cheapest I've ever seen since I've been in Canada is $350. And those things doesn't exist anymore. It's crazy. But rent is quickly going up. Next. What was it like flying for the first time? That's a good question. So the first time that I traveled was the first time that I came to Canada. That was the first time that I traveled. And I was a bit nervous. It was the first time that I was leaving my family, not sure about when I would return. So yeah, I was nervous, a bit nervous. It was like severe nervousness. It was just a little on the nervous side of things, but I wasn't worried in any way. I was just a bit nervous. And the first flight that I did was 4 hours, and then the flight from Toronto was 2 hours to PEI. And Jamaica to Toronto, that was my first flight. And for that flight, it was okay the entire time. I had some movies that I downloaded and I watched a couple of episodes. No, I don't think I watched much episodes because I couldn't hear it clearly on the thing. Like it wasn't loud enough, like the episodes weren't loud enough, and they didn't have any screen at the front in front of me. So because of that, I ended up just listening to music. It was the loudest thing that I could find that I could hear over all the plane sounds that the plane makes, which is just a non-stop sound that it makes until you get off. So that was there. My ears did pop a couple of times. So they say you can, I mean, you don't really need gum. Like all I do is swallow. You can drink water or just swallow in general. Even if you don't swallow anything, just swallow and your ear will pop. It was fine. I listened to music and I sat down. I went to the washroom. I was nervous to go to the washroom, but I had to. It was a 4-hour flight. So I went to the washroom, and yeah, like in the plane, like it moves just a little bit. So it's weird when you're walking and you're feeling the plane move. But it was fine going to the washroom. I came back, I sat down, and I was there just listening to music the entire 4 hours. I just listened to music. I got to Toronto at night. It was like 11 o'clock at night, and then at 12 o'clock it was going to be New Year. So I traveled between New Year and between New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Touched down into Toronto. When I got there, New Year was coming. Many people were rushing, running, because they needed to catch whatever they were going for, so they were running. Many people was just rushing, and I was like looking around. Then I saw immigration. I know that I need to go to immigration for my study permit, so I went to immigration. So I just followed the signs. They are always above you. Just follow the signs to baggage, follow the signs to exit, and you literally exit through the airport. Just follow the signs. So yeah, follow the signs to immigration. Went to immigration, got my study permit very easily. Wasn't any issues. And then I went and I spoke to a front desk personnel at the airport, asking him some questions. I was there trying to contact the place that I was supposed to spend the night. They weren't answering, so I ended up spending the night in the airport after I paid money to spend the night at this little motel. But just it was an Airbnb, and it was a guy, and it was issues getting the keys, and it's like he fell asleep at night and he wasn't answering his phone. So there was no one to let me in. Because of that, I ended up sleeping in the airport. I didn't really do much of sleeping. Like I probably finally fell asleep at like 3 o'clock. I was connecting to the Wi-Fi, so I spoke to the guy at the front desk. He told me about the Wi-Fi so that I can contact my family and tell them that I'm here. And then he told me about a spot where I can go, and he said like there is like somewhere that many people stay overnight. So the guy at the front desk told me all that information, and then I went up there, and then I connected to the Wi-Fi, and then I texted my family, and then they eventually called. And like after I text them, it's like they didn't see their phone. So I was there waiting, and I was sitting down, and then I took a breath. And when I breathe, I'm telling you that the view, because I saw this huge area that was just open, and you can see the entire Toronto from there basically. And when I looked at that view, oh my gosh, it was the best feeling ever. That view, when I saw all the lights and how beautiful it was, yeah, that was like probably one of the best experiences that I've ever had. And from there, I was basically on cloud nine for a good 2 months of being on cloud nine, being happy, being in Canada. Finally, it's one of my biggest dreams. So I was like, yes, I was on cloud nine. And I came to Canada January 2020. You all know what happened March 2020. So I was on cloud nine for 2 months, and then afterwards, one of the hardest parts of my life happened. I'm going to have to end the video here because it's already 20. How many questions did I have left? Do I go on? It's like 5 questions left. Yeah. I'm gonna have to end the video here. I wanted to answer some more questions, but the video is already 25 minutes long. It's really, really long already. I'll do another video for you. I'll put together some more questions. I wanted to talk about why I chose University of Prince Edward Island, why I moved to PI, Prince Edward Island in general. Why didn't I go to Toronto like everybody else? Those are some of the questions that I can answer in another video, and I can include any question that you left down below. So definitely keep dropping those questions down below. I'll be happy to answer them. I'll also leave in the description box, I think it's 10 ways that I wrote down, 10 ways that you can live off a low salary in Canada. I think that would be helpful for anyone that is struggling financially and needs some help in Canada. So I created that resource. So definitely check the description box below. I always have some surprises in the description box. So definitely check out that description box. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel. Remember to thumbs it up if you enjoyed it. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.